Hello all. So now let's go to chapter number 6 of unit 2, and the name of the chapter is Overcoming Resistance to Change. Just let me take you to the first slide of the chapter. That is the name of the chapter, Overcoming Resistance to Change. So whenever there is any change that is being implemented in the organization, or it is declared that now onwards this will be the change that you guys have to accept, there will definitely be a resistance. Now let us see what kind of resistance is there, what are the driving forces towards resistance, what are the restraining forces towards resistance, and what is the life cycle of resistance to change. So if you can see here, the life cycle of resistance to change. Phase 1. A few people see the need for change. So basically in this life cycle, there are 5 phases. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, Phase 4, and Phase 5. The first phase, that is life cycle of resistance to change. Phase 1. A few people see the need for change. Suppose the organization declares that from now onwards, let us get into an open cubicle culture rather than some people sitting in closed cabins and some people sitting in cubicles. They see a need for change. Maybe they want to enhance the transparency in the organization, the relationship between the superior and the subordinates, whatever would be their reason for doing this. But this is the anticipated need for change. Phase 2. Now, because of this, two forces will come up. Forces for change and forces against change. Forces for change are called driving forces. Forces against change are called restraining forces. Forces for and forces against. That is, some people would accept this, that yes, everybody should be sitting in open cubicles. And some people would say that no, people should be given cabins, or there has to be sitting arrangement as per the hierarchy. So phase 2. Phase 3. Finally, there is a direct conflict between people who are for change and people who are against change. Phase 4. There is a possibility that resistors will mobilize enough support to shift the balance of power. Here, basically, in a simple language, let's understand what is shifting the balance of power. That is, some people will try to influence people against change to get into people for change, or people for change to get into people against change. So there will be enough efforts that is being put by both the parties to shift the balance of power. And once the balance of power shifts, then phase 5, that is, the resistors to change are few or are reduced, or the people who are wanting to accept the change are more and they increase. So finally, here the actual conflict of change becomes more subtle. It is only on surface with small verbal disagreements. Finally, let us understand the whole life cycle of resistance to change again. Phase 1, there is a need for change. Phase 2, two parties come up with forces for and forces against. Phase 3, there is a direct conflict between forces for change and forces against change. Phase 4, shifting the balance of power. Forces for and against will try and attract more and more people towards them. Against may go to for and for may go to against. In this process, either the resistors to change may get few or reduced, or in the same way, the people who are accepting change may get few or reduced. And finally, the actual conflict will now be more of subtle and there will be small disagreements. So this is the life cycle of resistance to change. What are the driving forces and what are the restraining forces? Driving forces are the people who are ready, or the forces that basically push people towards acceptance of change. So when people are dissatisfied with the present situation, they want to actually get something new. And there is a lot of external pressure towards change. And when the management is highly motivating the employees to accept change. So these are the 3 driving forces towards acceptance of change. Then there are restraining forces, the forces that block the implementation of change programs. They restrain the employees to accept the change. First is uncertainty regarding the change. Employees are in their comfort zone. They do not know what is in store for them. There is a lot of fear of unknown. What is going to happen if we accept this change? Our routines might get disrupted. What is in it for me? Existing social networks, interrelationship between the colleagues may change, it may be disturbed, and the change is not in conformity, that is not in accordance to the norms and culture of the organization. So these are the restraining forces to change. What can an organization do to lessen this resistance to change? What are the different strategies? Educate people that change is good, communicate with them, create a vision, try and involve more and more members in the change program. So their involvement basically may help other members to accept the change, negotiate, make agreements. You may use certain power or political strategies. Leadership has to be very strong when you're convincing people to accept change. Reward systems, try and link rewards and incentives to change. Explicit and implicit force or coercion is very important if people do not want to accept change, and create a climate that is conducive to communicate, that is people would want to discuss and talk more and more about this change. And lastly, if required, use certain power strategies. So these are the strategies to lessen resistance to change. Thank you very much. This was chapter number 6 of unit 2. Let me take you back to unit 2. Chapter 4 was role and style of OD practitioners. Chapter 5 was diagnostic process. And chapter 6 is overcoming resistance to change. And here we complete unit number 2, chapter 6. Thank you very much.